So you've probably heard the phrase before, thoughts become things, or you become what you think about. And I wanted to just spend a little bit of time just explaining a little bit about that in a bit more detail. So you may have heard me talk before about this sequence which says how we think determines how we feel, and how we feel determines how we act, and how we act will ultimately determine our outcome. So the way I've expressed this before is you think in positive terms, okay, you start to feel better, you feel good. If you feel good, you're much more likely to do the things that you plan to do, want to do, know you should do. And then on the basis that you do the right things, then you tend to then get an outcome which is what you wanted, a good outcome. And of course that then fuels us to think more positively again and repeat the sequence. However, if you believe that sequence to be true for the positive, the same thing can happen on the negative. Think in negative terms, feel crap. Feel crap, less likely to do stuff, less likely to get out of bed, less likely to actually make the calls, less likely to be kind. And therefore what happens is we get an outcome which is what we don't want, but we're thinking about anyway, and all of a sudden that negative thought ultimately has come true and it reinforces the belief. So again, we go into that spiral of thinking negatively. Now, again, it's maybe not quite the way I've evolved my thinking through this whole COVID-19 is that it's not just about being positive or negative, because the Stockdale paradox was an interesting learning for me to build on this. And that was this idea of, it was a Vietnam vet who was caught by the enemy and was tortured multiple times. And what he observed were that there were three groups of people. And he said that the pessimists were the ones that didn't survive, but he also interestingly said it's the optimists as well. They also didn't survive. And it was the people who were the positive realists, those people who could confront the brutal facts of the situation, but never had any doubt that ultimately they would prevail. They had an unwavering faith that they would get to the other side and things would get better. And I think that's maybe where we're at right now with regards to the whole virus thing is, look, we need to be positively realistic, but be really clear that how we're thinking right now will determine the outcome that we ultimately face. So I want to encourage you all to, stand guard at the gates to the garden of your mind. Take in the information that's helpful to deal with the situation, to be real, the information that we need to know about. But then let's make sure that we switch off any of the negative stuff and make sure we're planting ourselves with constructive thinking, positive thinking that will help us survive through this process, and then ultimately start to do the necessary stuff to build so that we ultimately thrive at the other side of this situation. So if you need any help at all with your thinking, with your planning, with your actions, get in touch with me. Again, you can book in on a Calendly link. I'm opening up every session that is currently blank in my diary is free for people in business right now to talk. So I will do whatever it takes to help as many people as I possibly can. So again, get in touch and then we can book in a slot. And again, I just want to help people. Okay, there we go. Until we meet, till we speak, good luck, stay safe, stay sensible.